What up, guys? It's Wolf King, and today I'm going to tackle the evolutionary argument against naturalism invented by Plantinga. Okay, so here's how the premise goes. Okay, so our beliefs about the world can only have evolutionary consequences if they affect our behaviors. Otherwise, they're invisible to natural selection. Natural selection favors traits and behaviors that are essential to the survival of the species, carrying on to the next generation, but not directly the ability to form true beliefs. Natural selection has no way to favor true beliefs over false ones, but adaptive beliefs. Therefore, through these premises, therefore, naturalism is apparently self-defeating, and it's more likely that there's a God who used evolution to make us and have like the thoughts and the brains that we have, because apparently and therefore supernaturalism is more a better explanation than natural explanations. Okay, now there's some issues with this essentially, and it's kind of related to that whole brain in the vat type of scenario, or like you don't know you're in the matrix or something like that. It's basically just a reassertion through the evolutionary theory, which is actually kind of clever. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like a pretty good argument, but it's just a rehashing of that whole, well, you don't know there is no supernatural or there is no God. I mean, for all you know, evolution could be right, but there still could be a God. Of course. But to break this down, I feel like the wordplay regarding in this is like is essentially natural selection can't select for true beliefs. Now the whole thing with this is you have to understand that the evolution of the brain before trying to leap into like there being an inconsistency between methodological naturalism and evolutionary theory. Now, in regards to the empirical data regarding this, the brain is much more than just chemical interactions and firing neurons. It does more than just recollect. It compares, it synthesizes and analyzes. It generates abstractions in order to understand the world around us. It has essentially its own language for testing the structure and consistency of the world. And this is through the ability to form models. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just back up and then. Okay, in terms of our species, we've been on this planet for essentially millions of years, based on the fossil record and tracing back our genetics. Now, our species, basically working and like evolving to like getting to this state of civilization was not easy. There were many factors that would have actually destroyed us. Things like ice age and the diseases, and for this reason we had to develop there were necessary traits that were needed to actually enhance our survival capabilities, things like intelligence. So it was a matter of us being able to form actual conceptual models within our minds, within our physical minds, to actually attain a better understanding of our environment in order to adapt and survive, pass down genes, and basically be a better species able to survive in that environment. So it's not so much that we can't get like true beliefs from them. It's a matter of it choosing the best necessary it's basically understanding the best necessary traits for survival, and nature challenging our minds to actually be more fit for our society, for our society, or essentially our environment, is a necessary thing in the equation. And it's a matter of saying models with predictive power are of utility. That is the essential thing in regards to like the whole mind thing, how we actually test reality. And the thing now, what I don't like originally with the whole Plantinga thing is that first of all, he doesn't even give a real good definition of the whole of naturalism. For one, first of all he says like there is no. I mean, if you actually read the premises, he defines it as like as there is no such person as God, there is no God, or like he basically tries to make it sound like atheism with like with like a positive aspect of a belief to it, which is not. And that's not the essential thing at all, because if you're talking about models, like for example methodological or scientific naturalism, that is where you actually, I mean, if you actually look at history, like our civilization, with the technological advances that have been made through accumulating knowledge through physical evidence and reason and logic, it is shown to be a pretty good, decent model, because the two biggest amplifiers in the survival and the success of our species are this: our ability to work in groups and our ability to gain, disseminate, and access new knowledge. And the latter has actually been achieved through physical evidence and reason and logic, basically observing and testing the real world. And going necessarily to continue the argument, you also said we can't trust what we actually sense empirically. Now I feel like you're kind of treading ground on this one. You're kind of treading ground on this one, because you're trying to link it to the whole evolutionary argument against naturalism, and that's not necessarily true, because what we sense empirically doesn't necessarily have to be key to our survival. Like for example, say you see a painting and you want to know, like, how does that actually come about? Well, you could just look at a painter painting, like actually painting art, and like you understand that paintings are done by painters. I mean, that's it. Now, is that necessary for your survival, or is that just empirical knowledge, like based on a direct observation? Is that necessary for your survival? I don't think so. I mean, the thing with empiricism is that it's knowledge gained by experience. Basically, what you can demonstrate, measure, and this is one of the key things: repeat. That's the main thing, repeatability. I mean, if this is knowledge that that can be demonstrable, measurable, and repeated, then it's like that's justified in being accepted as actual knowledge. I mean, that's the difference between knowledge and belief. And finally, the conclusion to this is also kind of baseless, because you're making more. I mean, okay, look, I'll say this. With all the knowledge that we've accumulated, of course, I mean, that doesn't mean we know absolutely that there is no God, that there is no supernatural. But the fact of the matter is, the burden of proof is on you. And the thing is, you're actually making a bigger assumptions than you could actually back up with this argument. Because we understand that the evolutionary theory is accurate based on the demonstrable evidence. What you have yet to demonstrate is, you're apparently saying that because a particular worldview, can't supposedly account for something like true beliefs via scientific theory, therefore I mean, it's kind of like an argument from ignorance, because there's this one thing we haven't accounted for, then this other premise must be true, which is not the case at all. I mean, with Occam's razor, we could basically just wind this down. If we understand that evolution is true, and if we could actually gain a better understanding through the model that we actually have, like before then, then there really is no reason to accept a premise of the supernatural, because the fact of the matter is, if we actually accumulate this knowledge through physical evidence and reason and logic, and not any supernatural claim, then I feel like then the burden of proof is still on you. Okay, just because you think there's this one thing that a particular worldview cannot account for, that doesn't make another explanation true, because that's an argument from ignorance mixed with a God of the gaps hypotheses. And this argument, while I'm not gonna lie, it seems challenging to a bright to actually debunk, but actually it's just a matter of using the right logic and the right words, because I mean, a majority of it is basically could be reduced to mere semantics, and actually distinguishing that from the actual empirical data. So that's my thoughts. The evolutionary theory against naturalism sucks, and it's been thoroughly debunked. If you like this video, subscribe, like, comment, fave. This has been Wolf King, out.